poor cleaner paid bus fare for a stranger. She never expected who he was. Rain fell softly on the early morning streets, turning the gray pavement into a mirror of blurred headlights and moving shadows. A cold wind pushed through the narrow road beside the old bus station, carrying the smell of damp concrete and cheap coffee. People hurried with their collars up, trying to escape the chill. Near the entrance, a young woman stood with a torn umbrella that barely held together. Her name was Mara. She was small, thin, and tired-looking, but her eyes were gentle, too gentle for the hard life she lived. Her shoes were soaked, and her uniform smelled faintly of bleach and floor cleaner from the night shift she had just finished. As she waited for the bus, she rubbed her hands together to warm them. She had only one thought: get home, check on Mama, then rush back out for the next cleaning job. Her whole day was already planned by survival. Then she noticed something. A man in his early 20s stood near the ticket machine, patting all his pockets with growing panic. His hair was messy, and his coat was too thin for the rain. He kept whispering, "No, no, no. I swear I had it." People walked past him, annoyed by his presence. One woman snapped, "Move, you're blocking the machine." Another man rolled his eyes and muttered, "Probably pretending." The young man's face flushed with shame. He stepped back, looking completely lost. Mara couldn't ignore him. Something in the way he hugged his arms around himself, like he wasn't used to being helpless, pulled at her heart. She walked toward him. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. He looked up surprised. I lost my wallet. I need to get across town. My phone battery died. I don't have anyone to call." Mara hesitated. Her own money for the day was almost nothing, just enough for bus fare and a small breakfast for her mother. But the boy in front of her looked terrified and cold. She felt a familiar tug inside her chest, the same one she felt whenever she saw someone weaker than her, even if she herself was barely standing. "What would you do in this situation?" the narrator asked gently, as if speaking to the viewer. "Walk away or offer help you can barely afford?" Mara took a slow breath. "I can pay your fare," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. He stared at her in disbelief. "What? No, no, I can't let you do that." "It's okay," she said with a small smile. "Everyone needs help sometimes." She tapped her card on the machine twice, once for herself, once for him. The machine beeped, confirming her small act of kindness. She felt her stomach twist, knowing she had just spent half of her day's money. The boy opened his mouth as if to speak again, but at that moment a black car drove slowly past the station. The car was sleek, the type only rich people used. Mara didn't pay attention, but the boy's eyes widened as he followed it with a strange expression. Before she could ask, the car turned the corner and disappeared. "Thank you," the boy whispered, still staring after it. Mara nodded and stepped toward the bus as it arrived, shaking water from her umbrella. She didn't see the way the boy looked at her. His face tight with something more complicated than simple gratitude. "Have you ever helped someone?" the narrator asked softly, and wondered if it would ever matter. As Mara climbed onto the bus, she felt a sudden shiver, not from the cold, but from a strange feeling deep in her chest. She didn't know why, but something was about to change, and it had already begun with that single beep of the ticket machine. She just didn't know it yet. The bus ride felt longer than usual. Mara sat by the window, watching the city slip past in gray blocks and puddles. Her clothes clung to her, still damp from the rain. She pressed her bag close to her chest, thinking of the small coins inside. "Half my money gone," she thought, but he needed it. She closed her eyes for a moment and saw the young man's face again, shocked, almost offended that someone like her wanted to help him. She wondered where he was going in such a hurry. Maybe he had a job interview. Maybe someone in his family was sick. She would never know. Her stop came. She stepped off the bus and walked through the narrow alley that led to her building. It wasn't really a building, more like a decaying block of concrete 4 floors, paint peeling with laundry hanging like flags outside every window. Dogs barked somewhere below, and a baby cried behind thin walls. Mara climbed the stairs, careful to avoid the broken part on the second step. On the third floor, she stopped in front of a blue metal door, scratched and rusty around the lock. She knocked softly with her knuckles. "Mama, it's me," she called. The door opened a little, and a woman's face appeared in the gap. Her hair was mostly gray, pulled back in a loose bun. Her eyes were tired but warm. "Mara, child," her mother said, letting her in. "You're soaked." "I'm okay," Mara replied, stepping inside their tiny room. The room was barely big enough for a small bed, a narrow mattress on the floor, a wooden table, and a single cupboard that always looked like it might fall apart. A gas stove sat in the corner by the window next to a bucket for water. Her mother coughed a dry, rough sound. She walked slowly back to the bed and sat down. "Night shift again?" she asked. Mara nodded and took off her wet shoes. "Yes." "Hotel floors don't clean themselves," she joked weakly. She moved to the basin and washed her hands, then checked the small plastic box on the shelf. "Mama, did you take your medicine?" Her mother looked away. I kept one pill for later. We must stretch it." Mara's heart tightened. "You're supposed to take it twice a day," I know, her mother replied softly. "But medicine costs money. We can't keep buying it like rich people." Mara reached into her bag and pulled out her little coin pouch. She opened it and stared at the few coins lying inside. Shame burned her chest. "Mama," she said quietly, "had to spend some of it. I'm sorry." Her mother watched her with calm eyes. "Did you eat?" "Yes," Mara lied. "The hotel gave us leftover soup." Not true. She had only drunk water. "Then don't say sorry," her mother said. "Money is for living. It comes and goes." Mara hesitated, then told her what had happened at the bus station, how the young man had lost his wallet, how she had paid for his fare. Her mother listened, expression unreadable. "So now we have less for food and medicine?" Mara finished her head down. "I know it was stupid. I just couldn't walk away." Her mother reached out and took her hand. Her fingers were thin but steady. "Mara, look at me." Mara raised her eyes. "We are poor," her mother said, "but we are not empty. You did the right thing. Don't ever be ashamed of helping someone." Tears pricked Mara's eyes. "But what if we don't have enough?" "We never have enough," her mother said with a weak smile. "And still we are here. God sees, even if people don't. One day kindness will come back to you. Maybe not in the way you think, but it will." Mara pulled her mother into a gentle hug, careful not to squeeze too hard. Her mother's body felt too light in her arms. After a while, Mara stood and boiled some water. She made a thin porridge with rice and gave most of it to her mother, pretending she was not hungry. Later, she left again for her day job cleaning offices in the city center. She kissed her mother's forehead before going. "I'll be back by evening," she promised. "Lock the door. If you need anything, call neighbor Tita Rosa." "Okay." Her mother nodded. "Don't worry, child. Just take care of yourself." Outside, the rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet. Cars rushed past, splashing water on the sidewalks. Mara walked quickly, her bag bouncing against her side. She stopped by a small stall to buy one piece of bread, counted her coins twice, then walked away without buying anything. "Mama first," she reminded herself. Always mama first. At the office building where she worked, she changed into a clean uniform, a simple blue dress with a name tag that read, Mara, cleaning staff. The building was tall and shining, all glass and steel reflecting the sky. She always felt small when she stood in front of it. Inside, the lobby smelled like perfume and floor polish. People in suits walked quickly, talking into phones, not even glancing at her. She was invisible here, just part of the background. "Hey, Mara," a familiar voice called. She turned and saw Jonas, another cleaner, pushing a cart with mops and buckets. He was in his 40s with kind eyes and a tired smile. "Morning," she said. "You look pale," he observed. "You okay?" "I'm fine." "Just didn't sleep much," she replied. He shook his head. "You work too hard. One day you'll just fall down and sleep in the hallway, and we'll have to mop around you." Mara laughed softly. At least the floor will be clean. They went to the supply room. Mara grabbed her tools and started her usual routine, wiping desks, emptying trash bins, cleaning windows. Floor by floor, room by room. The work was tiring but simple. She liked that. There was no space for thinking too much. During a short break, she stood by a window on the 10th floor and looked down at the busy street. Cars moved like tiny toys. People rushed around like they were late for something important. Mara wondered what it felt like to walk in here wearing a suit, carrying a laptop instead of a mop. Maybe in another life, she whispered. When her shift ended in the late afternoon, she stopped by the small office at the back where the supervisor sat. He was a thin man with glasses and a permanent frown. Mara, he said, not looking up from his paper. Wait a moment. Her heart jumped. Did I do something wrong? He shuffled some papers, then finally looked at her. The manager of the top floor offices made a request. They want an extra cleaner in the evenings. Someone reliable, quiet, and careful. I gave them your name. Mara blinked. Me? You want more hours, don't you? He asked. The pay is a bit higher. It's a private floor. Very important people. You work hard. Don't make me regret it. I won't, she said quickly. Thank you, sir. Be there tomorrow. 6 p.m. Sharp, he said. The company is called Hartwell Group. The owner is some big CEO. Don't touch anything you're not supposed to. And if you see the boss, don't bother him. Just do your job. Hartwell Group, Mara repeated quietly as she walked away. She had heard that name before. It was on billboards around the city, on the side of trucks and ads on cracked TV screens in the neighborhood store. A big company far from her world. She stepped outside into the fading light. The sky was turning orange now, clouds glowing softly. Her feet hurt, but there was a small, strange hope stirring inside her. More hours meant more money. Maybe more medicine for Mama. Maybe a bit more food. As she walked to the bus stop, she passed a large digital billboard on the side of a building. She glanced up without thinking and froze. A picture of a smiling young man filled the screen, standing beside an older man in a suit. The ad was for Hartwell Group, showing the visionary founder and his son. The older man looked powerful and serious. The young man looked familiar. Too familiar. Mara stepped closer, her mouth slightly open. The young man's face, clean and confident on the screen, was the same face she had seen that morning at the bus station. Only there, he had looked scared and lost. Her heart beat faster. It's him, she whispered. The boy from the bus. Tomorrow night, she would start cleaning the private floor of Hartwell Group. And without knowing it, she was walking straight toward the owner's world and the truth about the stranger whose bus fare she had paid. The city skyline shimmered under the late afternoon sun as the top floors of the Hartwell Tower glowed with warm, golden light. Behind tall tinted windows, a world of polished marble floors, calm music, and silent halls stretched like a different universe, far from the crowded buses and narrow alleys Mara walked each day. Inside one of the corner offices, Adrian Hartwell stood alone, staring out at the city he was expected to control. He was 27 tall, neatly dressed, and handsome in a distant way. People often said he was lucky, born into wealth, the only son of a powerful CEO. They called him the young prince in business magazines. They thought he had everything. But Adrian felt like a man living in a glass box. Everything looked beautiful from the outside, but the air inside was too thin to breathe. He pressed his palm to the window, his eyes unfocused. He wasn't thinking about business. He was thinking about the morning, about the bus station, the rain, and the young woman with tired eyes who had paid for him without hesitation. He hadn't meant to be there. He had left home early, walking instead of taking his usual car. He needed air, needed space. He had been thinking about his mother, whose picture sat on the table behind him, a smiling woman with kind eyes gone too soon after a long illness. Her loss had changed everything in his life. It had made his father colder, stricter. It had made Adrian feel like nothing he did was enough. He had walked for so long that he didn't realize he had reached the bus station until the rain began. Then the panic hit, his wallet gone. He dropped it somewhere on the way, his phone dead. People stared at him like he was a nuisance, a liar. But then she appeared, the girl with the torn umbrella, her voice soft like she didn't want to disturb the world around her. She had helped him without asking who he was, without expecting anything. Even after he tried to refuse, she simply smiled and said, "Everyone needs help sometimes." No one spoke to him like that. No one treated him like a normal person. Adrian let out a long breath. He didn't know her name. He didn't know why her kindness kept replaying in his mind. He only knew it pulled at something inside him that had been quiet for years. There was a knock at the door. "Come in," he said. The door opened and his father walked in. James Hartwell, a man in his late 50s, tall with silver hair and an expression that rarely softened. He didn't waste time. "Adrian, we need to talk about the meeting tomorrow. Investors are expecting you to present the infrastructure plan." "I know," Adrian replied. "You don't sound ready." "I am ready." His father studied him. "You look tired. Are you sleeping enough?" James stepped closer. "You know this company needs strong leadership. You can't disappear in the mornings without telling anyone. Your driver couldn't find you today. Your assistant was panicking." "I just needed a walk," Adrian said quietly. "A walk," his father repeated, almost scoffing. "You are not a boy anymore, Adrian. You cannot wander around the city like someone with no responsibilities. There are people watching you. You represent this family." Adrian clenched his jaw. "I know." Silence hung thick between them. James glanced at the photo of Adrian's mother on the table. His voice lowered, though it did not soften. "Your mother trusted you to be strong." A familiar ache pressed inside Adrian's chest. "I'm trying," his father nodded once. "Good. Now come downstairs. The board needs your signature." When the door closed behind James, the office felt colder. Adrian walked back to the window and whispered almost to himself, "I'm trying," but he wasn't sure he believed it. That evening, when he returned to his private lounge on the top floor, he sat on the couch and tried to read messages on his fixed phone. But his mind kept drifting to the girl from the bus station. Her face, her voice. He didn't know why it mattered so much. Maybe because she was the first person in months who looked at him without expecting anything. Maybe because her kindness felt like something he had lost long ago. He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. "I wish I could thank her," he murmured. But the city was big. She was probably just a normal working woman. He would never see her again. The next day, just before 6 p.m., Mara walked into Hartwell Tower for her new evening shift. She felt small in the bright lobby. Her uniform was neat, her hair tied back, her hands holding her cleaning bag tightly. "Top floor," the security guard said kindly. "Private elevator." Mara blinked. "Me really, yes. Your name is on the list." She stepped into the private elevator. The doors closed silently and the lift rose faster than any she had ever ridden. Her heart beat quickly. When the doors opened, she stepped into a quiet, luxurious hallway. Soft lights, white marble floor, a large window showing the sunset across the city. Everything felt too clean, too expensive, too far from her world. A woman in a black suit walked up to her. "You must be the new evening cleaner." "Yes, ma'am," Mara said. "This floor belongs to the Hartwell family. The young CEO works here until late. Do your tasks quietly. Do not disturb him unless necessary." "I understand." The woman handed her a small pass card and left. Mara let out a slow breath. "Just work. Don't overthink." She began cleaning, dusting shelves, wiping tables, organizing small items. Everything smelled of perfume and success. She was wiping the glass wall of a conference room when she passed by a framed picture on a shelf. Her eyes widened. The picture showed Adrian Hartwell with his father, smiling, confident, wearing suits. "It's him," she thought, her hand trembling on the cloth. The boy from the bus. the one who lost his wallet. Her knees felt weak. That meant she had paid the bus fare of a billionaire's son without knowing it, and now she was cleaning his office. She took a shaky breath. He won't recognize me, she told herself. I was wet-tired, just a woman at a bus station. He's rich important. He probably forgot already. But her heart was beating too fast. Footsteps sounded behind her. Slow, steady, getting closer. Mara turned and her breath caught. Adrian Hartwell stood in the doorway of his office, looking straight at her. Their eyes met. Something in his expression changed: confusion first, then surprise, then something softer, something familiar, as if he was seeing someone he never expected to see again. For a moment, Mara couldn't breathe. Her hands tightened around the cloth as she stood frozen by the glass wall. Adrian looked just as shocked as she felt his eyes widen slightly. His posture stiffened, and he took one slow step toward her. "You," he said softly, almost in disbelief. Mara lowered her eyes quickly. I'm sorry, sir. I was told to clean this floor. I didn't mean to disturb, no." His voice was gentle. "It's you." From the bus station. A cold shiver ran down her back. She forced herself to straighten her posture, trying to look calm, even as her heart hammered in her chest. "I didn't expect you to remember," she whispered. "How could I forget?" he replied. His words were simple, but the way he said them made her cheeks warm. She stepped back, unsure what to do, unsure what rules she was breaking by standing here talking to him. "I'm just doing my job, sir," she said quietly. Adrian glanced at the cleaning tools in her hands. His brows pulled together with a look she couldn't read, maybe guilt, maybe worry. "You work here?" he asked. "Yes, sir. For how long? Today is my first evening shift." Adrian let out a slow breath and ran a hand through his hair, almost as if trying to make sense of something complicated. "I didn't know. I wish I had known sooner." Mara shook her head. "Please, sir, you don't need to say anything. It was only a small help." "To you," he said, looking directly at her. "It was not small to me." Before she could answer, the hallway lights flickered, once a reminder of the storm gathering outside. A heavy tap, tap, tap of rain started against the tall windows. She glanced out and saw the city lights blur in the downpour. Adrian noticed her expression. "You came here alone in this weather?" "Yes," Mara replied. "I need the extra hours." He looked troubled by that, but he didn't push. Instead, he stepped aside. "Let me get you something warm to drink. You look cold." "Oh, no, sir, I can't accept." But Adrian had already moved toward a small kitchen area near his office. She heard the soft click of a kettle being turned on. She stayed where she was, unsure and nervous. Then a sudden loud noise echoed from the other end of the hallway, something falling followed by a sharp cry. Mara jumped. Adrian turned instantly. What was that? They both rushed toward the sound. At the far corner near a row of cabinets, one of the older staff members, Mr. Douglas, the nighttime security assistant, was on the floor. A tall metal ladder had slipped sideways and fallen beside him. Papers were scattered everywhere. "Oh no," Mara whispered and dropped her cleaning cloth. She hurried to him. "Sir, are you hurt?" The man groaned, holding his ankle. "I stepped wrong." The ladder slid. "Ah, my ankle." Adrian knelt on the other side. "Don't move," he said. "Let me check." Rain crashed harder against the windows, thunder rolling above the tower. The lights flickered again. Mr. Douglas winced. "I need to call the building medic." "But my phone fell somewhere, I'll help you," Adrian said. But when he pressed the man's ankle lightly, Douglas grabbed his arm in pain. Mara swallowed hard. "Sir, we can't leave him here. He needs support. I can get the medic from the lobby." "That's 10 floors down," Adrian replied. "And the elevators are slow during storms." Mara didn't hesitate. "I'll go down by the stairs." "I'm fast." "No," Adrian said firmly. "It's dangerous. The emergency stairwell gets slippery when people track in water." Another loud crack of thunder shook the tower. "Mr. Douglas's breathing became rapid. Please, someone just go. Mara looked at Adrian. Sir, you stay with him. I'll go for help. Before he could argue, she was already running. Her shoes slapped against the marble floor as she sprinted toward the stairwell door. She pushed it open and felt a rush of cold air. The concrete steps were dim wet in places and smelled of dust. But she didn't stop. She ran down one flight, two flights, three, her breath growing tight, her palms damp. She didn't think of herself. She didn't think of the danger. She only thought he needs help. They need help. I can do this. By the time she reached the lobby, she was panting hard. She grabbed the edge of the front desk counter. Medic, she gasped. Someone fell on the top floor. Mr. Douglas, he can't move. The guard's eyes widened. On it, two building medics rushed from the side room and followed Mara back up, carrying a small medical kit. They didn't take the elevator. It was too slow and risky. They ran the stairs. Mara ran with them, even though her legs shook. By the time they reached the top floor, Adrian was still with Mr. Douglas, supporting him and trying to keep him calm. When the medics took over, Adrian stood and stepped back, breathing heavily. He looked at Mara with something like astonishment. You ran all the way down and back up, he said softly. Mara nodded, trying to catch her breath. I had to. You didn't even think twice. He was hurt, she replied simply. The medics loaded Mr. Douglas onto a small rolling stretcher. As they left, they thanked Mara for her quick action. She nodded politely and turned to gather her tools, thinking her night was almost done. But Adrian stepped closer, stopping her gently. Mara, he said, his voice lower than before. You helped me yesterday, and today you helped someone again without asking anything. I just did what anyone would do, she whispered. No, he said quietly. Not anyone. Most people look away. She didn't know what to say. Her heart felt too full, too exposed. Adrian took a breath like he was making a decision. You shouldn't be running up and down this building for extra money. You deserve more security, more support. Mara looked at him with confusion. Sir, I'm just a cleaner. I'm grateful for this job. That's not what I mean, he said. I want to help you, not out of pity, but because you've helped others when you could barely help yourself. She shook her head quickly. Sir, please. I don't want to lose my job. I didn't do anything wrong. You're not losing anything, he said firmly. I'm offering you something. Her breath caught. Offering what? A stable position here, he said. Better paid daytime hours, more benefits. You wouldn't have to run between jobs anymore. Mara stared at him, stunned. But sir, you don't even know me. He held her gaze. I know enough. Rain thundered against the windows. Lightning lit the hallway in a brief white flash. And in that moment, Mara understood her life had just changed. Not because of luck, not because of money, but because of one small act of kindness at a bus station. The next morning, the city woke under a soft golden light. For once, the streets didn't look harsh. The air felt lighter, like the storm had washed away the heaviness of the night. But inside Mara's small room, her hands trembled as she tied her hair back. She kept hearing Adrian's words from last night. A stable position, better pay, daytime hours. It sounded unreal, like a dream whispered through a closed window. Mara, her mother, called from the bed. Why are you up so early? You didn't have the night shift today, right? I have a meeting, Mara said, forcing a smile. Someone wants to talk to me about work. Her mother frowned gently. Did something happen? You look nervous. Mara walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. Mama, if someone offered to help us, really help us, would you take it? Her mother reached for her hand. If they are honest, yes. But don't trust too quickly, child. People are strange when money is involved. I know, Mara whispered, lowering her eyes. But this person, he's not like others. Her mother tilted her head. Who is he? Mara hesitated. Someone I helped by accident, and he wants to help back. Her mother smiled a little. See, I told you kindness travels in circles. But Mara felt too overwhelmed to smile back. She hugged her mother softly, then stood and grabbed her bag. I'll be home for lunch, she said. Rest for now. I'll bring your medicine. Her mother nodded. Be safe, my child. Hartwell Tower looked even more intimidating in daylight. Its glass walls shone like a giant mirror, catching the busy movement of the business district. Mara entered slowly, holding her pass card, tightly worrying a guard might stop her and say it was all a mistake. But the guard simply nodded. Good morning, Miss Mara. You can go up. Miss? No one had ever called her that before. She took the private elevator up to the top floor. Her heart beat faster the higher she went. When the doors opened, she stepped into the quiet hallway, the same one from last night. Everything looked too expensive to touch. A receptionist approached her with a smile. You must be Mara. Yes, Mara replied nervously. Mr. Hartwell asked me to bring you to the lounge. He'll join you shortly. Mara followed her through the long hallway until they reached a beautiful room with soft couches, warm lighting, and a wall of windows overlooking the city. The receptionist left her there. Mara stood near the window, holding her hands together to keep them from shaking. She didn't know where to sit. She didn't want to touch anything and accidentally break it. A few minutes later, she heard footsteps. She turned and there was Adrian wearing a crisp shirt, sleeves rolled up slightly, looking less like a CEO and more like the man she'd met at the bus station. His eyes softened when he saw her. Good morning, Mara. Good morning, sir. You don't need to call me sir, he said gently. She lowered her eyes. I don't know what else to call you. You can call me Adrian, he said, if you're comfortable. She nodded slowly. Adrian. He gave a small smile. Thank you. Please sit. Mara sat carefully on the edge of the couch, her back straight. Adrian sat across from her, but leaning forward, elbows on his knees, like he didn't want to intimidate her. I know yesterday must have been overwhelming, he began. I didn't mean to surprise you. She shook her head. I just didn't expect you to care about what I did. I meant what I said, he replied. Your help mattered. Not just the bus fare. The way you helped Mr. Douglas. The way you never hesitate when someone is in trouble. People like you are rare. Mara lowered her eyes again, embarrassed. I'm just trying to live. I don't do anything special. That's where you're wrong, he said softly. She looked up, meeting his eyes. Something in his gaze made her chest feel warm and confused. Let me explain what I'm offering, he continued. There's an opening in the executive office team for a personal support assistant. It's not cleaning work. It involves organizing files, preparing small reports, keeping schedules, taking calls, and helping with daily tasks. Mara blinked. I don't know anything about office work. You can learn, he said. We'll train you. You're smart. You're hardworking. That's enough. But I didn't finish school, she whispered. You can still learn, he repeated gently. She swallowed hard. Why me? Because I trust you, Adrian replied without hesitation. And because I want to give you a chance. One chance can change everything. Her throat tightened. How much would something like this pay, he told her. Mara's breath caught. She nearly choked. It was more than 3 times what she made from both her jobs combined. I can't accept that, she whispered. Why not? It's too much. It feels wrong. I'm not worthy of it. Adrian leaned closer. Listen to me carefully. You are worthy. You work harder than anyone I've seen. You help without expecting anything. You don't step on others to rise. Those are qualities money can't buy. I value that. Her eyes blurred with tears she tried to hide. I don't want to be a burden, she said softly. You're not, he answered. But if you say no, I won't force you. I only want to help, not trap you. Mara wiped her eyes quickly with the back of her hand. If If I accept this job, will it be okay with your father? Adrian's expression changed, just a flicker of tension. My father respects results. If you do your best, he'll have no reason to object. He didn't mention that his father rarely approved of his decisions. Mara didn't know that yet. She took a slow breath. And what exactly would I have to do? Adrian explained gently using simple words. He even offered training with another staff member, flexible hours at first and time to adjust. Mara listened, absorbing every detail. When he finished, he looked at her with quiet patience. So, what do you think? Mara's hands trembled again. She closed her eyes for a moment, imagining her mother buying medicine without fear, eating full meals, living without worry. She imagined herself not running between painful jobs, not falling asleep in buses, not being invisible. She opened her eyes slowly. I want to accept, she said softly. I want to try. For my mother. And for myself. Adrian exhaled, visibly relieved. Then welcome to the team. Mara smiled, small, shy but real. Her training began the next day. At first, everything overwhelmed her: phones, ringing schedules written in terms she didn't understand, shiny office tools she had never used before. But her trainer, a patient woman named Liza, helped her step by step. Don't worry, Mara, Liza said kindly. No one knows everything on day one. I'm afraid I'll break something, Mara admitted. Liza laughed. If you break a file, we delete it. If you break a glass, we get another one. Just breathe. Slowly, Mara learned. She learned to type emails, organize documents, label schedules, and even answer calls with polite confidence. Every time she did something right, she felt a small bloom of pride inside her chest. Every time she made a mistake, Adrian was gentle. You're improving fast, he told her one afternoon. I'm proud of you. The words hit her harder than she expected. No one had ever told her that before. Not once. Days passed, then weeks. And during that time, something else began to grow. A quiet bond. It started with small things, Adrian asking if she had eaten, Mara reminding him to drink water when he buried himself in work, Adrian offering her a ride home when it rained, Mara buying him a cheap umbrella when he kept forgetting his. None of it felt dramatic, just gentle, just warm. Sometimes their eyes met across the office and both looked away too quickly. Sometimes their hands brushed while passing papers, and they both pretended not to notice. The narrator speaks softly to the audience. Do you believe one act of kindness can really change a destiny? Watching them, it was easy to think, maybe yes, but not everyone was happy. One afternoon, while Mara organized files near the lounge, she overheard two employees whispering, "Why is she here? She's just a cleaner. I heard Adrian hired her personally. That's strange. People like her don't belong in this department." Mara's stomach twisted. She walked away before they saw her, her chest tight with fear. Someone is unhappy with me being here. She didn't know who. She didn't know how bad it could get. But the first shadow of trouble had already appeared. The trouble began quietly, like a small crack in a glass window that slowly spread. At first, Mara did not notice anything unusual. She came to work early every morning, organized files, prepared papers for meetings, and helped Adrian with schedules. She made mistakes sometimes, but she worked hard to fix them. But some people watched her with sharp eyes. One of them was Clarissa. She was a senior administrative officer, beautiful, confident, and dressed like she walked straight out of a fashion magazine. She had worked at Hartwell Group for years and expected to be the next person promoted. She also happened to be someone who liked Adrian far more than he liked her. When Mara arrived, Clarissa's smile became thinner each day. One afternoon, as Mara placed printed documents on a table, Clarissa walked up to her with slow, clicking heels. "Mara," she said sweetly, "the files for Mr. Hartwell's afternoon meeting are missing. You were responsible for them, right?" Mara froze. I placed everything on his desk earlier." "Well, they aren't there now," Clarissa said, tapping her nails. "Are you sure you didn't misplace them? It would look very bad if you did." I can check again, Mara said quickly. Maybe I made a mistake. Clarissa smiled too wide. Yes, mistakes can be dangerous around here. When Mara checked Adrian's office, the folder was gone. Panic rose in her chest. No, no, no. Where is it? I know I put it here. As she opened drawers trying not to cry, Adrian walked in. Mara, what's wrong? You look like you saw a ghost. The files for your meeting, she stammered. I can't find them. I know I left them here, but they're gone. Adrian walked to the desk and opened a drawer. The folder was inside, right at the front, as if someone had placed it there. Mara stared confused. How? I didn't put it there. I know you didn't, Adrian said quietly. Then he added, Come here. When she stepped closer, he lowered his voice so gently she nearly cried from relief. You're not in trouble. I trust you. Don't be afraid. Her chest loosened. Thank you. Adrian. He nodded. Now go take a break. I can feel you shaking. She walked out of the office, slowly pretending to breathe normally. But down the hallway, Clarissa watched her with cold eyes. The next incident was worse. A week later, Mara's supervisor called her privately. Mara, someone complained about you. Her heart dropped. Seat complained about what? The supervisor sighed. Someone said you were rude to a visitor, that you raised your voice. I didn't, I know, the supervisor said quickly. I've never seen you act that way, but procedures force us to report it. Mara's stomach twisted painfully. Will Mr. Hartwell hear about it? Not unless there's another complaint. He lowered his voice. Be careful, okay? Someone is watching you closely. Someone. She didn't have to guess who. A few days later, the real attack came. It was late afternoon. Adrian had gone to the 20th floor for a meeting. Mara was alone in his office organizing his emails. She was proud of how well she was learning. She wasn't fast yet, but she was improving. Suddenly, Clarissa entered the room without knocking. Mara, she said sharply, I need the quarterly financial reports. Now. Mara blinked. But I'm still not allowed to access finance files. You're part of administration, aren't you? Give me the reports. I can't, Mara said carefully. Those files require manager permission. Clarissa stepped closer, her face stiff. Are you saying no to me? I'm saying I don't have access, Mara replied softly. I'm sorry. Clarissa's jaw tightened. You think you're important because Adrian smiles at you, she hissed quietly. Because he gave you a job you didn't earn. Let me tell you what people like you don't understand. You don't belong here. Mara felt her throat tighten painfully, but she stayed quiet. Clarissa reached into a folder and pulled out a stack of papers. Then she slammed them on Adrian's desk. These are the reports, she said. And I'm going to tell the board you lost them. Mara gasped. What? I didn't. Clarissa, that's not true. Clarissa leaned closer. Who do you think they'll believe, you or me? Mara's hands shook. Why are you doing this? Because you're in my way. Before Mara could respond, Adrian walked in. He stopped at the doorway, eyes narrowing as he saw Clarissa towering over Mara, the scattered papers on the desk in Mara's trembling hands. What is happening here? Adrian asked, his voice sharp. Clarissa turned instantly, smiling like nothing had happened. Oh, Adrian, I was just correcting a mistake. Your assistant misplaced important files again. I found them under a stack of papers. That's a lie, Mara whispered. Clarissa glanced at her with warning eyes. Adrian stepped closer. Clarissa, why are these reports open? I didn't give permission for anyone to access them. I thought I could help, she said quickly, since she can't handle it. Enough, Adrian said, his voice turning cold. Clarissa, wait outside. But now, Clarissa walked out, her heels clicking angrily. When the door closed, Adrian turned to Mara. Are you okay? Mara covered her face with her hands. Tears fell silently. I didn't do anything wrong. I swear. I never touched those files. I know, Adrian said firmly. I believe you. She shook her head. She hates me. She's trying to ruin me. I'm scared. Adrian hesitated for a second, then slowly placed his hands on her shoulders. Mara, he said softly, look at me. She raised her eyes filled with fear. No one, he said, is going to take your job away. Not while I'm here. I promised you safety, and I keep my promises. Her breath shook, but she nodded. Sit, he said gently. I'll take care of this. The confrontation happened later that same day. Adrian called Clarissa into a glass conference room. Mara didn't mean to listen, but everyone in the hallway could hear the raised voices. Why are you interfering with my assistant's work? Adrian demanded. I'm senior staff. I have every right. You have no right to harass her. She doesn't belong here. That is not your decision. Clarissa's voice rose. You're protecting her because she helped you at the bus station. Everyone knows it now. She thinks she's special. She's making you look weak enough. Adrian's voice cracked through the corridor. Silence. Adrian continued, quieter but sharper. You crossed the line. You tried to frame her. I saw it. Others saw it. From this moment, you are suspended pending investigation. What, Adrian, you can't. I just did. Clarissa stormed out, humiliated, pushing past Mara without a glance. But Mara didn't feel triumphant. She felt shaken, exposed. Adrian came out moments later. His face softened when he saw her. It's over, he said. She can't hurt you anymore. Mara looked up at him through teary eyes. Thank you, Adrian. I don't know why you keep helping me. He stepped closer, his voice low. Because you are brave, he whispered. Because you are honest. Because you deserve better than what life has given you. Her heartbeat fluttered painfully. She didn't know this moment would be the beginning of something deeper. Something impossible to ignore. But for now, the danger was gone. The truth had been revealed, and the rich world that had once pushed her aside now knew Mara was not a girl to be stepped on. The next morning, sunlight poured through the high office windows, warm and bright. It felt like the entire top floor had taken a long breath after days of tension. Mara arrived early, nervous but determined. She walked carefully down the hallway, half afraid someone would glare at her, whisper, or accuse her of something again. But instead, as she entered the administrative area, people looked at her differently. Not with scorn, not with narrowed eyes. More like respect. Liza, her trainer, approached her right away. Mara, she said warmly, I heard what happened yesterday. How are you holding up? I'm okay, Mara replied softly. Just tired. You were very brave, Liza said. Clarissa has bullied many people here, but you stood your ground. Not everyone can do that. I didn't do it alone, Mara whispered. Adrian helped me. Liza smiled. He sees something special in you. And honestly, so do we. The words made Mara's chest feel warm. Acceptance, finally. She had never felt it in any job before. When she walked into Adrian's office with the morning documents, he looked up from his laptop. Mara, he said without hesitation. Come in. She placed the folder gently on his desk and stood there awkwardly unsure if she should speak. How are you feeling? He asked, noticing her hesitation. Better, she said quietly. Thank you for everything you did yesterday. You didn't have to defend me like that. Adrian leaned back in his chair. Mara, listen. You didn't deserve any of it. Clarissa's behavior was unacceptable. I simply did what was right. But you believed me, she said. That means more than you know. He smiled softly. I trust you. I always have. Her heart fluttered. She lowered her eyes. I'm trying to be strong, but yesterday scared me. I thought I would lose everything. Adrian stood and came around the desk. He stopped in front of her, his expression softening. You're not losing anything, he said. This is your place now. You earned it. Mara swallowed hard. I don't want to cause trouble for you or the company. You didn't, he said firmly. You helped save an innocent man's job from lies. And now the board knows the truth. What happened to Clarissa? Mara asked quietly. She's suspended pending a full investigation, Adrian replied. She will likely face serious consequences. Mara nodded slowly, guilt flickering in her heart. She never wanted to hurt anyone, even someone who tried to destroy her. Adrian saw the emotion in her eyes. You're feeling sorry for her. A little, she admitted. She must be hurting to act like that. Adrian sighed lightly. You're too kind. Even now you think of others. She smiled faintly. I don't know how to be any other way. He looked at her, then really looked at her. His eyes softened with something deeper, something fragile and true. Mara, he said quietly, you have changed this place more than you realize. She opened her mouth to answer, but he gently stepped back, giving her space. Come, he said. There's something I want to show you. Adrian led her through the top floor toward a section she had never been in before. A large wooden door opened into a wide office, beautiful, warm, and filled with framed blueprints. This was my mother's office, Adrian said softly. Mara looked around in awe. The room felt calm and full of memory. She was the heart of this company, he continued. Not the richest, not the smartest, but the kindest. She helped employees' families, gave scholarships, built shelters. She always said kindness was the strongest foundation any company could have. Mara listened quietly, sensing how much this hurt him and comforted him at the same time. She wanted me to lead with compassion, he said. But after she passed, everything changed. My father grew stricter. The board cared only about numbers. And I forgot who I was supposed to be. He turned toward her. Until the day you paid my bus fare, Mara's breath caught. Adrian, that was nothing. Anyone would have helped. No, he said firmly. People walked past me like I was lying. But you, someone with so little, gave me what you barely had. You reminded me of her. Mara's eyes filled with tears. Adrian stepped closer. You think you're just surviving, but you inspire others. You inspired me to be better. She lowered her eyes, feeling overwhelmed. I didn't mean to, I know, he said softly, but you did. Silence settled between them, warm, fragile, full of unspoken emotion. Then Adrian took a breath, as if gathering courage. There's more I want to do for you, Mara. Not because of charity, not because you helped me first, but because you deserve the same chance my mother tried to give everyone. He reached into a drawer and held up a small envelope. This is for you and your mother. Mara hesitated. What is it, a full medical support program, he said. We partnered with a clinic downtown. Your mother can get the treatment she needs. Regular checkups, medicine, everything covered. Her lips parted in shock. Her hands trembled. Adrian, no, this is too much. It's not, he said gently. It's the least I can do. Tears overflowed from her eyes and she covered her mouth with her hand. You don't understand. I've been so scared. Every day. Scared she would get worse. I understand, he said. That's why I want to help. She sobbed softly, overwhelmed with gratitude. He stepped closer, careful, gentle. You're not alone anymore, Mara. She looked up at him through tears. His eyes were full of warmth, honest and deep. For the first time in a long time, she allowed hope to fill her heart. Over the next week, life began to change quickly. A company car picked up her mother and brought her to the clinic. The doctor treated her with dignity, explaining everything clearly. Medicine was provided, tests were done. Her mother's coughing slowly improved. Mara cried silently when she heard her mother say, I feel lighter today. At work, Adrian made sure she had support. Employees began treating her with kindness, seeing how she contributed, how calm and patient she was. Even the board members nodded to her in hallways. But something else grew too. A deeper bond. One evening after most employees had gone home, Mara and Adrian stayed late to organize documents. The office was quiet and warm, lit by soft lamps instead of bright lights. "Are you hungry?" Adrian asked suddenly. "I ordered dinner." "You didn't have to," she said. "I wanted to," he replied. They ate together at a small table, simple food, but it felt like more. They laughed softly as Adrian told her stories about his mother. Mara shared stories about helping her neighbors as a child. Their hands brushed, their smiles lingered. At one point, Mara looked down and whispered, "I never imagined I'd feel safe in a place like this." Adrian's voice softened. "I want you to feel safe. Always." She looked up, eyes meeting his. A long, quiet moment passed. He reached out slowly, touching her hand. "Mara," he said, voice trembling slightly, "I want you in my life, not just in this office, not just as part of the team, but with me." Her heart raced. "Adrian, you don't have to answer now," he said gently. "I just wanted you to know how I feel." She squeezed his hand softly. "I feel something too. Something I didn't expect." His eyes warmed. "Then we'll take it slow, step by step." She nodded, cheeks warm with hope. Days later, Mara's mother visited the office to thank Adrian. "Mr. Hartwell," she said, bowing slightly. "You saved my life." "No," Adrian replied with a gentle smile. "Your daughter saved mine first." Mara stood beside them, her hand brushing his. And for the first time in her life, she felt her future opening like a window. Light, warm, steady, a new beginning. A gentle breeze moved through the open windows of Mara's new apartment, a small but bright place provided through a company housing program that Adrian insisted she accept. Sunlight spilled across the clean floor, touching the potted plants that Mara's mother cared for with quiet joy. For the first time in years, the air smelled of hope instead of fear. Her mother set 2 cups of ginger tea on the table and smiled. "You look happy, Mara." Mara tied back her hair, her cheeks warming. I I am Mama." "You deserve it," her mother said softly. "After everything." Before Mara could answer, there was a gentle knock at the door. She opened it to find Adrian standing there, not in a suit this time, but in a simple shirt and jeans. He held a small box with fresh pastries. "For your mother," he said, smiling. Her mother laughed kindly. "Ah, Mr. Hartwell, always with gifts." "Just Adrian, please," he said. He stepped inside and the room felt brighter. The 3 of them sat together, talking softly. Mara's mother asked him about his day. Adrian asked her about her medicine. It felt like a real family, something Mara had not felt in a very long time. After a while, her mother gently stood. "I'll water the plants on the balcony. You two talk." She slipped outside, leaving them alone in the warm, quiet room. Mara looked down shyly. Adrian moved closer, sitting across from her. "How are you adjusting?" he asked. "It feels unreal," she whispered. "Sometimes I wake up thinking I must go back to the old room, or that everything was just a dream." "It's real," he said softly, "and it's only the beginning." She lifted her eyes to him. "Adrian, I'm still scared sometimes. About the future, about disappointing you." "You won't," he said instantly. "You've already done more for me than you know." She blinked. "I don't understand. You reminded me of who I want to be," he said. "Someone who leads with heart. Someone my mother would be proud of. You brought that back into my life." His words filled her eyes with tears. "And you," he continued, "deserve someone who sees how strong you are, how kind, how brave. I want to be that person." Adrian reached across the table and took her hand gently. "Mara, will you stay in my life? Not just as my assistant, but as someone I can walk forward with, someone I can build a future with." Her breath caught. Her heart fluttered painfully beautifully. "I will," she whispered. "Adrian, I want that too." He smiled the kind of smile she had never seen from him before. Soft, full of love. Then he leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers, both of them closing their eyes. In that small, quiet room, with sunlight warming the walls and her mother humming softly on the balcony, Mara felt something she had long forgotten. Peace. A new future was beginning. Together. The narrator speaks gently to the audience now. Sometimes life changes in a single moment. One small act of kindness, a few coins for a stranger, can open a path no one expected. Mara was poor, tired, and nearly invisible to the world. But she never stopped caring even when her pockets were empty. And that compassion led her to a new life, a new love, and a new beginning. Adrian had money, status, and power, but none of it healed his loneliness or grief. It was the kindness of a stranger that opened his heart again and reminded him what truly mattered. So what can we learn? Kindness can change a life sometimes, even two. Don't look down on anyone. You never know their story. Real strength is not money, it is compassion. And blessings often come from the least expected places. Never underestimate the power of a small good deed. Thank you for listening to this story. What touched your heart the most? Have you ever helped someone and felt the world change, even just a little? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories coming soon. Your support means everything.